All right, good afternoon, Speed Gaming, and welcome to the Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament, Round 1, or Brackets Round 1, Round of 64, Game 2 between Yagamoth and matt7898. My name is Tracy M, and with me today is Jay Meisher. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Get to take a little break from AGDQ and watch some Link to the Past Randomizer. Really excited. They played their first match back about a week ago. So what can you tell us about what happened in that one?
Yeah, pretty much exactly a week ago at this by this point, and it was a fairly interesting race, and kind of what it really came down to was one item on each side. Matt needed he needed ether that was on Uncle, and Yagamoth needed hookshot from Stumpy. Both kind of really early checks that they had access to, and ended up coming down to who ended up hitting that up first. Matt had a slight early lead and was able to get his hookshot and basically finish off the race from there. But this should be really interesting because we have a switch up from Yagamoth to 6-6.
Yeah, and 6-6 could mean a couple of different things. We have seen seeds where the runners do get to choose what dungeon to skip, but we've also seen seeds where it forces you to skip a specific dungeon based on what ends up in Ganon's tower. So we'll see which kind of seed we get today.
Yeah, theoretically, we could get a really quick set of items that will get us through 6 crystal dungeons, no problem. Or the seed could force us into the more linear path and actually force us into some pendant dungeons. I know these runners are hoping that doesn't happen here, but we'll have to wait and see.
Although, to be fair, being forced into pendant dungeons happens in 7-7 just as often, so we'll see what happens.
Very true. And both these runners, incredibly skilled. If you're looking at the tournament bracket, might be a little bit deceiving when you're looking at their ranks. Both of these runners were quadrant 1 as far as their qualifier finishes. Just in Matt's case, he ended up having to play a third set in groups, and so has ended up a little bit lower down the bracket. But they're both incredible runners. Everybody who is still at the stage of the game is.
Both with the Sanctuary start, both with some bombs. One of the few times you actually like seeing bombs because you're going to need them in Kakariko. So they don't have to worry about that right away, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think we'll likely see this. They'll go straight through this check into the forest and down into. Now that they have the bombs, going straight into Kakariko rather than saving and quitting, going to Link's house.
And we did see a quick map check. I believe I saw 2 pendants in the light world, so not going to be able to skip any of the easiest dungeons, we won't be able to skip the hardest dungeons. Just a single rupee on that tree pole. Oof. And single rupees on the bush crab. So not a lot of help there. Matt going to go ahead and check Lumberjack to see. Oh, they're both going to check.
Yeah, if you're taking this route, this makes sense to check this early.
Just a piece of heart, so we won't be doing agate for the item.
Of course, not completely ruled out, as always.
And another piece of heart. Matt not picking that up either. Looks like neither one of them is. I'll see if Yagamoth picks it up. He says, early piece of heart may as well, and an early fetch quest.
An early mushroom. Would be something to check perhaps a little bit later, but obviously we want to get into Kakariko and see what we've got. See, Yagamoth taking advantage of some tree pulls here to get a little extra money. Could come in handy here.
Yeah, that's a better tree pull than the first one we saw.
But Matt's going to be the first one here into Blind's Hut for 5 items.
Okay, early red cane, so we won't be searching. Early bow, won't be searching for that either. And okay, that's a stacked Blind's Hut.
That's quite a set of items.
Bow and a cane.
This could force them into some interesting early decisions, particularly Pendant Eastern Palace.
Yeah, it's not even the green pendant. But it is full clearable. Not in logic, since we don't have any sort of light source, but these runners will be able to do the dark rooms if they want to. And a hammer.
And it might not matter if we find Moon Pearl here
I know,
fairly
right?
early.
I mean, that's 2/3 of our Dark World access already. I mean, we have access to the Dark World, we just can't do anything until we see a Moon Pearl. And a whole lot of bombs.
Yeah, very explosive. Well, yeah, I think these types of early seeds, when you get a lot of really early items like this, seems nice, but can be kind of concerning from a runner's perspective, because it does mean, especially if you find the Moon Pearl fairly soon, that a whole lot opens up.
Yeah, sometimes when you have the entire world to check, you don't know where to go next. And, you know, your decision versus your opponent's decision could make a huge difference.
Interesting point, brought up chat. They both have the ability to do a fake powder here before leaving Kakariko.
You don't see that very often. I mean, sometimes you see the hammer and the regular powder.
And yeah, Matt indeed pulling out the hammer, and
Yeah, setting up for that.
they did also find flippers, so perhaps an early South Shore play before having to make the decision on Eastern.
And early flippers in this situation, not the best thing in the world. They don't have anywhere near the money for Zora. In fact, Matt hasn't even gone back to the bottle vendor yet with only 92 rupees. If you go and check those flips, do the flips checks now, you're completely orphaning Zora. Unless you get a couple of big 300s.
Yeah, I think a lot is going to come down to what they find in South Shore. If they find a lot of money there, they could just keep going. But it is hard, especially with those early flips, to pass up, you know, your waterfall checks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uncle checks, or excuse me, hobo check.
Don't worry so much about the hobo check, since it's kind of out of the way compared to going to the waterfall ferry. But yeah, I mean, you kind of want to just do all those at once and just get them done.
It would certainly be preferable. But we see a big 20 on the library, so
Not going back for that.
Any of that.
And bombs in the race game, we're not getting those either.
It's interesting. We'll see if Yagamoth just goes straight for the maze game, which he did in the first seed. It cost him a little bit more time on Matt here. And just in general, seems like Yagamoth's been a little more thorough with, say, you know, his tree pulls and the like.
And Matt's going to go ahead and do the back of escape right away. I like this. Get the layout whether going front of escape is even going to be worth it, because, you know, see if he gets a map and a small key, that leaves a lot of items in the front. If he doesn't see either one of those, then he knows there's fewer items in the front. So let's see what he gets. 20 rupees, a cape, and a map. Now the cape's always interesting because that could be Yaga.
Yeah,
but
we all know what that could potentially mean, but we're pretty close at this point.
Yeah, we're a long
still
way for that.
We'd still be looking for either two swords or a sword and a lamp. Or actually, we need the lamp no matter what. But sorry, we need either a sword and a lamp.
The real thing part of it is the only thing we're missing is that Moon Pearl. So the only way Aga comes into play is if that Moon Pearl or whatever leads to the Moon Pearl is sitting there on the pyramid.
Yeah, so it seems pretty unlikely at this point. We've got a lot of checks remaining here in our early locations, so I'm not going to be worrying about that too much. And there's a nice 300 in the dam for me. So Yaga following in Matt's footsteps here. I'm going to be interested to see if he goes straight South Shore like Matt did, or if he goes escape, which is actually what he did last seed, which unfortunately cost him a little bit of time. But
he's going to go for a Houlihan, it looks like.
Okay. So trying to get that money, and in fact, once he goes to the dam, he will have all the money he needs for Zora.
So that works out really well for him. Yeah, those of you who have seen the other setup for this, Once you have the flippers, I believe you're forced into that setup. There might be other ones I don't know about, but that's the one you'll typically see.
Yeah, and that, especially now that he's gotten that money, definitely makes sense to go full South Shore into mini Moldorm, Zora, all that good stuff.
And Matt checking Agina, just finding a big 20. That's such an out-of-the-way check. You really hope to find something when you're going there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Hail Mary play, checking it this early in a seed.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to allow Yagamoth to catch up a little bit. Of course, that all depends on whether Yagamoth checks that later on.
But even if he does check it later on, he might be able to pair it in with more other stuff, so he won't gain all. Matt won't gain all the time back at that point. If he just goes out of the way to check it now, then then it's be pretty even.
That's a very nice mini Moldorm from Matt there. Arrow into the first one and then 2 bombs. Very nicely done.
And gets his bombs back. And a whole lot of money.
Yeah, there's that 50, so he's going to have enough to get Zora as well. Yagamoth opting to use Cane of Samaria here.
And Matt gonna swim over to Ice Rod Cave, it looks like.
Yagamoth having nothing to do with that bird.
Okay, let's see if Ice Rod Cave has anything for us. No. Just a piece of heart.
Yeah, but if you're committing, if you've got flippers and you're committing to this this check, then you really gotta check it, especially if you don't have something like an early flute, which would get you over here a lot faster. But Matt is indeed going to be making the trip all the way up to check Hobo and then probably get a look at what's on the island.
And just a piece of heart. We'll see if Waterfall Fairy or Zora has anything better.
Meanwhile, Yagamoth just opting to skip these 2 checks entirely. Makes a little bit more sense from his perspective. Being down a match here with your tournament life on the line, you're going to have to make a couple of gambles. And, ooh, well, there are our mitts on Lake Hylia Island.
So we're going to see a mirror relatively soon. Definitely going to have a mirror this seed.
Mirror will be somewhere. And interestingly, that means that Matt is going to have that information ahead of Yagamoth here. I do expect Yagamoth to check that relatively soon, especially if he's going to continue doing early game checks trying to find that Moon Pearl. But slight advantage here to Matt early with that info.
That's a very expensive heart container at Zora.
Yeah, so this South Shore play not turning up anything except that information on the mitts.
Looks like we're going to head into the front of escape here from Yagamoth. At this point, it's this and Eastern, I guess. Oh, they could break to the mountain.
Yeah, it would be out of logic at this point, but that is a possibility. Can't really do much on the mountain at
Yeah.
the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of like, because it's out of logic and because they can really only get 2 items and check a third because they don't have the mirror, they don't have a hook shot. I like the play of the escape better. The only reason to do the mountain right now would just be to get that save quit spot, which is certainly nice, but their progression is
Ooh,
more likely going to lie in this area.
more than likely. There is a bottle there on Uncle, which means
Mm.
if you had opted for the Uncle route this seed, you would have been able to route in that sick kid check. Still no idea if that is going to have anything. Also, interestingly, Matt opting to get to Uncle as early as possible this seed. Not as early as possible, but earlier than he did last time. Now, probably not wanting to get burned by that again.
Yeah, with Eastern being a pendant, not even a green pendant, saving that for later, possibly not even having to do it at all.
And that is certainly the hope here. And that's why we see both of our runners in the same spot. There is one more dungeon item in here, the small key. We did find the map earlier.
So everything else is going to be items. Whether they'll be good items or not, we will see. And rupees. Okay, so far not so good. And you'll notice Yagamoth's just leaving that key behind. That key would open the back of the dark area, get you back into the back of escape. Since he's already done that, you don't need to go there. So he doesn't actually need that key.
Yeah, that key is superfluous. You'd only need it if you were routing all the way from the castle to the back of escape, where the 3 items they already got were. But the key... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they say he's setting up for the death warp, so it looks like he's going to check Dark Cross.
Makes sense. It does have an item, as we've already found both dungeon items here. And do want to be as thorough as possible, especially when you're only looking for one item and it being the Moon Pearl.
And if it is the Moon Pearl, then it kind of gives them an idea of where there's a fire source of some sort. Because you do have to put this in logic, you can put it in logic in version 31 with a fire rod. Also could be the lamp. But if this were the Moon Pearl, it would tell them that one of those items pretty much has to be either in the Eastern Palace area or something in the Eastern Palace area would have to lead them to it.
Yes, potentially. And I mean, the other thing about doing this now is it's just kind of a peace of mind thing. You tend to not want to orphan too much if you can help it.
Yep.
And this is one especially that would be really hard to justify doing later on.
But without a sword, it's a little bit more difficult to make your way through there. And I like what Matt's carrying the Samaria block through. I like that.
Oh boy. So fire rod in Dark Cross, which means lamp must be somewhere. It obviously cannot be fire rod locked.
Right. So map must be accessible. Fire rod doesn't get him Dark World access. So looks like Yagamoth is gonna. Let's see. He didn't check the hobo. Looks like he's gonna do that first. He sees his mitts on the island.
That's enough for him. He got the information he wanted there.
Yep.
So indeed, Eastern Palace is going to be our next play here. Makes sense, obviously. You've got the 3 items from Sahasrara, plus the 3 in Eastern Palace, and we can full clear it.
And we'll see if they do full clear it.
I imagine we'll probably, if they find Moon Pearl fairly early, they might choose to dip out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think that's the one thing you dip out with. Well, there is the Moon Pearl, so we'll see what Yagamoth decides to do. Yeah, he just says, that's it. I got my Moon Pearl. Oh, a little indecision there maybe, but does eventually decide to go ahead and dip out. Meanwhile, forgot about that mushroom. Matt's going to go turn that in, see if that's anything.
Yeah, this could be interesting if it is something. Might be maybe a little bit before Yagamoth gets back to it. And yes, indeed, lamp could be in a lot of places at this point. All we know is that it cannot be fire rod locked.
Which pretty much tells us there are lots of parts of TR it can't be, and it won't be in the last part of Skullwoods.
Yeah. So, and these guys are not going to be too worried about that at all. So it's really only interesting from a kind of logic perspective if you're trying to piece together the seed.
Yeah, I've said it several times. You don't get this far. You don't even get into the group stage of this tournament, I don't think, if you can't do all the dark rooms without the lamp. So these guys being in the bracket stage certainly are going to be comfortable doing that.
So Hypecube doesn't have much, and Matt continuing to put off his Eastern Palace check. He's going to go down here and check Sick Kid real quick. But once he's done this, unless he decides to sequence break up the mountain, I have to imagine he's going to be going Eastern. We also had a map check from Yagamoth here in the Dark World, and our third pendant is, lo and behold, Turtle Rock.
And it's the green pendant. So the runners will be hoping that they don't have to deal with that at all.
Yeah, it does help make our item requirements for actually completing this seed with 6/6 a little bit lower. Of course, Turtle Rock might still be in the offing if we have to get in there for an item.
And just a 5 rupee on the pyramid, so we're not going to grab that. Okay, looks like Matt's finally going to head over to Eastern. We'll pick up his Moon Pearl, so long as he does Sarasa first, which is pretty typical. You don't see it. It's not very often that runners will go Eastern first, especially with Eastern being a pendant dungeon.
Yeah, you'd like to, especially if you're routing from this direction, Sasha makes the most sense. Not to mention, you want to keep yourself out of pendant dungeons as much as possible. So he'll get his Moon Pearl here really quickly, and then I imagine he's probably going to be joining Yagamoth in this general area of the world really, really soon.
Yeah, we've got the hammer, got the bow, we got a fire rod to make the dark rooms a little bit easier, and pod. It makes a lot of sense to go right over here. And to answer the question about 6/6 forcing you to climb GT, don't forget this is 6/6 means we still have to kill Aga 2. So absolutely we have to go into GT. The only progression that could be in GT, just like in 7/7, would be a sword. Because everything else, you need to finish the dungeon first, because 6 crystals opens GT, 6 crystals opens Ganon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And chat making a very good point. Matt, with only 7 rupees, can't actually get into pod right now. But I believe there was money in Hype Cave, so
I believe there was money, but I'm not sure there was actually enough.
I don't remember. It was a very underwhelming Hype Cave.
And Yagamoth has the Houlihan over Matt,
yes.
So that's where most of his extra money right now is coming from.
At 20 is not going to be quite enough. Nope. Only 40 rupees in there is not going to get it. So probably going to go the other direction. Check Stumpy. Check the dig game. Maybe head over to Village of Outcasts afterwards.
Yeah, if he's keeping track of his money, he definitely should go this way. And if you're really in a dire position here, I could see Matt trying to get some money off the arrow game.
Yeah, and dig game costs 80, it turns out, so he can't do that either.
It's in this type of seed, in this type of situation, that would feel really bad because it does cost you a little bit of extra time for just some quick cash, but he might be forced into doing it here.
Let's see if he goes for the extra cash or if he is, it's so easy to forget how much some of this. Oh, he is going to go for the arrow game. Nice.
Yeah, once he started heading this direction, there's literally nothing else he can do.
It was either that or he didn't remember the cost of the dig game. Showing good skill with that bow. There we go.
I
That's the
get
full 64.
I get the sense that Matt has done some inverted seeds.
Yeah, because that's a lot of times where, because inverted seeds, I think there's one check you can do without having to pay money or have bombs.
Oh, and there's the mirror where it always is in Palace of Darkness.
That just makes things so much easier in Palace of Darkness.
And this is doubly great for Yagamoth now. He's going to finish this dungeon. He's going to exit and immediately go grab his mitts.
And just a red boomerang for Matt.
So, yeah, Matt, let's see, has his money now, so he should be fine to get himself into Palace of Darkness and get his mirror.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the digging game. It may cost 80 rupees, but usually you make that money back just from digging up the money that's in there.
Yeah, and if necessary, if the item's pretty early, you can keep on digging to get some extra money. So Matt will be following shortly behind here. And we'll see what's in the back of Palace of Darkness.
Interesting, Yagamoth. Picking up some extra rupees. Not quite picking them all up.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they've paid for most of what they're going to need to pay for this seed. This is really just a potion kind of insurance. Here we go. So this is Dark Maze without a sword, which is not fun at all.
And not even a bombos or other medallion to just kill everything, so... Does get something. He's trying to see what he got.
Believe that was our compass. Nine times out of 10 in here, if you can't see the item in the Dark Maze, it's usually a dungeon item.
Okay, that time it was rupees.
Yagamoth having to be a little bit careful here. All these enemies in here do 1 heart of damage no matter what mail you have. He does get through it, however. Very nicely done.
And just a map, 20 rupees, and a compass. Ugh. Is going to death warp at this point, because even though he could mirror, getting that refill from the death warp is a better answer, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Matt got the compass there in the first chest of pod, which means that the big key was what was in. Pretty sure the big key is what was in that chest.
I think I saw a big key in his in Yaga's inventory, so that makes sense. Yep, he's got a big key. I think he's checked everything at this point, so it pretty much had to be that he had it.
Oh yeah, for sure. He took that death warp because even with his level of skill, you really like to avoid going into Helm of Sword King with low hearts and green mail. It's actually one of the scarier bosses if you're not super practiced with it. It does a lot of damage in green mail.
And I mean, as low as he was at the time, you're not losing time to death warping over the mirror. At least not a significant amount.
Yeah, and Yagamoth going to be looking for some magic drops here. Once you get down into the basement area, you're going to want to have at least 1 fire rod shot, and unfortunately, he is not getting lucky with these drops.
Yeah, so he's going to have to do these dark turtles completely in the dark if he doesn't get any magic. And that's the room that's tough. I mean, it's what puts the dark rooms in logic is having those torches. And of course, the turtle room has the torches, but it's also the hardest room to do without. And of course, the other rooms that don't have torches are the ones that are pretty easy to do without. So with no magic here, this is going to be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and he's not even going to have... he's not going to have his sword to kind of help guide him, which makes it extra difficult. So let's see how he handles it.
Well, I don't think we will see how he handles it because it's going to be dark, but hopefully he handles it well.
Oh, that's a big time drop.
Oh, that is good RNG for you. And you can see how much easier this is now that he's got, that he can see everything. And getting extra magic to boot.
That's a sigh of relief if I've ever seen one.
Oh, absolutely. And still no sword, so he can't really stabilize himself with it. He'll just have to do straight up hammer shots here.
Yeah, this is the NMG strats right here. The sword is helpful in that it's going to help keep you righted towards Helmsword King, and also is a little bit safer, so that you don't accidentally run your face into him. However, it does cause some lag, so being able to do it without the sword is a faster strat. Yagamoth trying to get... Ooh.
You ran out of
Gonna run
arrows,
out
so he's gonna have to
arrows.
switch. Okay, only one more hammer shot, so he's fine.
Yeah, he got enough arrows in there. They only need one more hammer hit. Tanked the shot and used the invincibility frames to get that last hit in and get some blue mail.
That's a nice little upgrade. Not progression, but you know, it's useful.
All right, well, that's our first dungeon down, and like I said, I fully expect Yagamoth to beeline for those mitts.
First, he's gonna check Eastern. I mean, this makes sense in the sense of when are you ever going to be back here?
Yeah, I can see the logic behind going for this. It's relatively quick. And like you said, this is, if you don't check it now, you're probably not checking it until
Last location.
basically the end of the game. He only wanted that first item.
Well, the first item is super quick, so that may be why he was going for with just that one. But we're back to the, if Eastern has something, he's not getting back here for a long time. But that's not unusual. I mean, it's a pendant dungeon. Yeah, you generally don't really want to spend too much time in those pendant dungeons.
Meanwhile, we're seeing Matt here trying to find his way through this dark maze. As I said, this is it's no joke, even for runners at this skill level. Especially once you get yourself lost in this maze a little bit, it can be tough to find your way back to the correct path.
And looks like Yagamoth is going to go get those mitts right away, which is really smart in this case. Might as well have the equipment you need right away, not have to worry about it later.
Needs to be a little careful here, getting bullied by the by this grenadier bomber.
Yeah, I didn't actually see if Matt got the item there. Decided to mirror out. He's going to go ahead and death warp to get his life back.
Yeah, Matt was able to get the items in there. He actually routed it a different direction from Yagamoth because he did the hammer jump.
He did it. Okay, so he got the big chest right away. And Matt having plenty of magic, he doesn't have to worry about the turtle room. Any more so than just usual.
He won't be sweating it out like Yagamoth was. Yagamoth, meanwhile, is going to give us our first look at Village of Outcasts.
And Thieves being a crystal, he may just go ahead and do that. Although the hammer blind is not anybody's favorite thing. Although he could use Canis Mario for it too, so he's got some options there.
Yeah, of course, the thing he's going to be looking for is a sword because he, unfortunately, is not going to be able to finish Skullwoods. Even with that fire rod, you do, in fact, need a sword to actually get to Mothula. But he will start with Skullwoods anyways, just going to get these front checks done. I would expect him to start here at this chest and then work his way back towards the front.
Especially with Kane, makes this room so much easier than rather than having to drag that statue. Also, it's nice to start the first part of Skullwoods with the key, so you have more options on how to route it. Because right now he's going to go to the right here, and if this is anything but a key, he'd have to either drop down to another spot or just go over to the middle anyway.
Normally,
he has
yes.
2 keys. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has
Normally,
2
yes.
keys
However, with the mirror, he could just work from that chest all the way down through to the bumper room.
Yep.
And could just mirror out. But finding all the small keys so far.
Although in this room here, the main thing is this room, which used to always be a small key, now can be an item. You don't want to fall in this room first, because then if it's not a small key, then you just have to save and quit. Whereas even without the mirror, you can always have one of those hands grab you to bring you back. But we didn't see anything. Did we see any items? I don't think we saw. All the dungeon items look like they're in the back. Which he could get one item, the one under the bridge, because that does not require a sword, just the fire rod. But he decides not to do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the only thing that could be there that would be helpful and would not cost him a bunch of time would be a sword. So he'd basically be banking on that being a sword. So he decides not to do it and is actually going to route straight up into Death Mountain.
And we get to see another dark room without swords.
Yeah, these ones are. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Now, I was gonna say, even normally you would say he's gonna go back to Skullwoods at some point with the sword, but don't know. I mean, it's not probably not the dungeon you skip, but he could.
Yeah, potentially, but I expect we're probably going to find a sword relatively soon. And then once you do that, you can just hopefully. But once you do find that, you'll be able to go straight through Skullwoods, Thieves Town, get those both knocked out at the same time.
My guess is if you're going to skip something here, probably Ice or Mire, maybe Swamp would be the more ideal dungeons to skip. Although if you have Go mode and you have your choice, Ice and Swamp are pretty darn quick in Go mode.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you always hope for, is to be able to Go mode those 2 dungeons. Spectral Rock has just a piece of heart. Meanwhile, Lamp.
There's a lamp.
Was an Eastern Palace.
Lamp in Eastern. Matt decided to do more of Eastern. So that'll save him a little bit of time when he does other dark rooms, but isn't really what he's. I mean, technically it's progression and puts a lot of the things that we've seen in logic, but definitely not the item he's searching for here. And that's our 3rd item in Eastern. Let's see if Matt just mirrors out. No, just save and quit out.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're thinking that there's going to be something hard required on the pedestal, there's really no reason to keep going here. And, given that Turtle Rock is one of our pendants, it feels unlikely that that's going to be necessary to seed.
Yeah, especially in a 6 situation. Because if let's say... Well, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Let's say, I'm not thinking of a good example. I was going to say mirror, but they have mirror. But if that were, say, on the on pedestal, then you just say, well, I'm just not going to do swamp, depending on what other items you came up with.
Yeah,
the seed might tell you otherwise, but...
Yeah, I mean, we're not ruling it out entirely, but it seems incredibly unlikely at this point. So, yeah, I like the call. You've found all 3 items. You found them all relatively quickly. So, I mean, that lamp should help him, especially if we have to get into Mire, get through those rooms pretty fast.
So that was a pair of bomb jumps. That first bomb setting him up in the right pixel spot to get the second one. That second bomb jump that he did to get across only has a 2-pixel window in the y-axis, so it's fairly precise. I've actually never seen that first setup, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, just a nice safe setup that you really don't want to fall. I mean,
No,
it's
2 floors.
such a big time loss, and it just feels the worst when it happens. So nice safe bomb setup, and here we go against Moldorm.
Yeah, I'm hearing from chat that Yaga actually created that setup, so yeah, very nice. I like that. I might have to try using that myself.
I definitely believe that. I mean, Yagamoth has been a mainstay in the community for so long. So, not finding anything off of Moldorm, I believe that means. I'm afraid I didn't catch whether or not we found both items in there, but yeah, I do believe there is an item in the basement. But you know, Yagamoth continuing to play a little bit more fast and loose with some of these item checks than Matt is, and like I said, that's largely going to be a function of the fact that Matt is a game up.
And we see Matt finding an ice rod, which hopefully isn't needed here.
Yeah, it would be pretty intense for that ice rod to be required this seed.
Yeah, 6/6 pendant TR, and you need an ice rod. I mean, it could happen, but I don't expect it. And we see a fairy in the bottle in Spiral Cave. But that's our second bottle, and thankfully we have mirrors, so it isn't going to mess up any death warping. So it's just kind of okay, we have an extra bottle now.
Yep, and there's Bombos in Hammer Pegs. So we're getting a lot of new checks here from Matt that Yagamoth opted to skip out on. Getting Smith Chain stuff, Village of Outcasts. Matt has not dipped into Thieves Town yet, but I fully expect him to do it relatively soon.
Yeah, I suspect he'll stop at the frog turn in here. I can't imagine going all the way out to doing purple chests when you have Thieves Town right there for you. Oh, and some boots for Yaga.
It's a very nice find.
Yep, as expected, leaving that purple chest behind.
And that'll be really nice for him once he finishes up with these mountain checks. He'll be able to start out at Sanctuary, grab King's Tomb, Bonk Rocks, and go straight back into his Village of Outcast checks.
And there's a book, not the item you want to see most when Desert's a pendant. So that opens up Desert for them. We know where the boots are, and we have a fire source, so full clearable between the two runners, and of course your 2 tablet checks. Yagamoth's gonna go ahead and do the rest of Dark Death Mountain at the same time.
He's going to do what he can, I'm sure.
Yeah, good point. No hook shot.
No hook shot.
Maybe you can tell me if Yaga's one of our hovering players.
I'm afraid I don't know. I don't believe so, but it's possible.
And a lot of runners that are okay at hovering will just try to do it, and if they fail, they'll just give it up right away. Okay, chat saying Yaga does not hover.
Yeah, we have Bombos for TR, so that means TR is available.
But not for Matt. Oh, sorry, not for Yaga. Matt will be able to at least open it up when he gets up there.
Yes, so we do need a sword. I mean,
need a sword. I'm making the assumption that by the time he gets there, he has a sword, but that may not be a safe assumption.
Potentially not. We certainly have gone a long way in the seed without one. But Yagamoth actually gonna completely dip out of any further checks there. Could have potentially gone over to do Spike Cave, but
Mhm.
feeling like he needs to get these boots checks done.
Meanwhile, Matt making his way into Thieves Town, which is a crystal, so he will be able to complete it. We'll see whether he finds a sword or whether he chooses to use cane strats or hammer strats when he gets to blind.
Well, assuming that Matt has as much inverted practice as we seem to think, and sword, by the way, there at King's Tomb, so that's one sword blocked by the boots. Assuming he does have enough inverted practice, I imagine he's got some good low percent blind strats.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really nice sword for Yagamoth now. Once he decides to go back to Village of Outcasts, he can full clear both locations and both dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
He never checked Mushroom. Okay, so
He's doing that now.
Yagamoth's gonna finally get over here to get his Mushroom check done.
And buys a potion as well.
Yep, putting that money he gained a little while earlier to use.
It looks like Matt just double checking to see if there's going to be an item in the big chest. I think I saw both map and compass in his inventory. He's got the small key, so there's going to be something in this big chest. And just 20 rupees.
Okay, this looks like an Ice Palace
Ice.
play from Yagamoth.
He can full clear this, though not necessarily in logic, depending on the key layout. The right side could be hookshot locked.
Yeah, but he definitely will be able to full clear it with some.
Oh yeah, there's some nice bomb jumps, and if we get a key in the first chest and you just go back, then that right side will be in logic. A lot of argument about where the hookshot could be. It is possible the hookshot could be in this dungeon. It also could be locked by a key on Cold Stair. So not in this case because we have the small. Oh wait, we haven't seen that. Let's see what this first chest is. I'm using bomb strats to get rid of the pen gators in the first room. Frankly, I think that's the worst part about not having the hookshot is those pen gators.
He almost got them all with those first two bombs. That would have been very nice, but still gets the last one. Meanwhile, Matt on the other side is going to have his second crystal done with his hammer kill of blind. Very nicely played.
But yeah, so far, small key not in the first chest. Doesn't mean we were hookshot locked, depending, again, where those small keys actually are. Certainly, if the big thing is you don't want them to be on the right side, or the big key to be on the right side. If that's the case, then you are hookshot locked for sure. I don't know all the details, but that's a pretty significant one. We'll do the bomb jump here. There's only a few scenarios where this bomb jump isn't worth it. Pretty much if you know you're full clearing and you have the Cane of Samaria, then maybe you choose not to do it. But
yeah, it's one of the bomb jumps that I'll tell any first time player, if you're going to learn any of the bomb jumps in this game, that's the one.
And the nice thing about that one is it's not the easiest one to learn because you have that extra movement afterwards. But if you can do that one, you can do most of the other ones. And we are going to get to see a purple chest turn in from Matt. This could be interesting. So our runner's really diverging after a pod. We're doing very, very different checks.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that can happen in a 6-6 seed like this, because it is a little bit more wide open. You need less to complete the game. And speaking of the hook shot.
Wow. So if you ever need any proof that the hookshot could be an Ice Palace, there it is. And
Oof.
initially, the Yagamoth is going straight down to the boss. I don't think there's no way he's gotten all the items out of here, so I don't know if he's going to come back in or not.
Well, just looking at his items, so with that hookshot, he can now complete. He can complete this.
Swamp.
He can complete Swamp, Skullwoods, Thieves Town. He's in sword mode,
Yeah.
and it seems that he has definitely realized this.
And he's decided to take that potion so he can use the fire rod to continue on this fight. His other option being just the fighter sword, which is a fighter sword, and of course could also use a hammer. And now we'll have to switch to one of those.
Very nicely done. So Yagamoth is going to, I mean, he's going to make some incidental checks along the way that are not too far, out of his
Yep.
path. But I don't foresee him checking very much more.
Yeah, 3 sword locations. Odds are one of them will be on his path somewhere. Another one of those things that you don't get this far if you're not comfortable doing Master Sword Ganon, Master Sword Silverless. Not a fun fight, but interesting. He does decide to buy some bomb and arrow upgrades there. It does fill you up, so that's certainly useful. Probably got it more for the refill than for the extra arrows and extra bombs.
That's likely, given that, like I said, he's not going to be checking much going forward. I mean, at this point for Yagamoth, he's just going to be going everything, and he's going to hope he finds a sword in GT.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Matt is finally going to be getting up the mountain. He'll get his boots, which will lead him to his sword. So I think we can say it this way, Matt, pretty firmly behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because unfortunately for Matt, he hasn't found any sword yet. And we see just some cash on the ether tablets. The book's not leading us to anything right now. Okay, here we go. Back of Skull Woods. And like I said, I don't believe we saw any items here, so there's going to be an item on Mothula.
Yeah, most likely.
Probably is not going to come back for the other item in the bridge chest.
Yeah, I highly doubt it.
That's a slow check.
Oh, Yagamoth just avoiding getting grabbed. That was really close. PSA, you can in fact get grabbed out of that pit.
You can.
And with his amount of hearts and that blue mail, just some quick hammer strats takes out Mothula. And should be on to Thieves Town here very shortly.
Meanwhile, Matt gonna go ahead and do his Moldorm fight. Oh, he is gonna go back in and check. Okay.
Yeah, I don't hate it. He should be able to get it relatively quickly, and he's got the mirror.
Yep, that mirror helps a lot because blue mail, 11 hearts. And, here's an interesting point. So chat's been talking about how much magic you need with the Master Sword. That 300 rupees will allow him to buy a couple potions that'll help him out if he doesn't find anything else. No half magic, no silvers, no sword upgrade.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I wonder if he'll take the time to make a trip over there. Without the flute, it's a bit of a longer journey. We do see Matt going back into the basement of Hera here.
So we're gonna see
I
that
mean,
item.
this it could be something useful, like a sword, for instance, but this is really only going to cost him more time, losing more time to Yagamoth.
Well, yeah, for those of you maybe just coming in, this is a 6/6, and we're pretty much on the assumption that Yagamoth is going to go ahead and skip Meyer. With the dungeons he has left, that makes the most sense.
Yep, he can finish Thieves Town here. He can go mode Swamp Palace and get straight up into GT, looking for that last sword, the last sword he needs.
And a shovel in the basement.
That's gross.
Ooh.
You find a shovel in Hera basement, you question a lot of life choices.
Absolutely. Well, I think I don't remember who was playing, but I saw a seed recently where it was shovel in TR to get your ice rod at the dig spot. I mean, that's just pretty evil.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about Book. Book was in Village of Outcasts. Yagamoth went when he got to Dark World, went straight to, or got to the Village of Outcasts, went straight to Skull Woods, and then after clearing what he could there, opted to just go straight to Death Mountain rather than checking Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town. So he does not have the book, but in this seed, he's not going to need it.
Have somebody clipping the shovel at the shovel ice rod there. Appreciate that, V600. If anybody wants to take a look at that. So as I often talk about Thieves Town, not a go mode dungeon. All the chests are right there for you, so you're not saving a whole lot of time go moding this. So Yagamoth is, I mean, the only chest you might skip is the big chest, and even that one's not that far out of the way. So we'll see if he does. If he's gonna go back into that bridge chest in Skullwoods, though, I suspect he will check it. It won't get him anything, but you know.
Yeah, it's one of the big reasons why Thieves Town is one of the earliest dungeons you'll see most people do. Just because from a requirement standpoint, you really only need hammer to full clear. You really don't need much. So you'll see a lot of people finish it pretty quickly. And yeah, like you said, go moding it doesn't really help you at all.
And he is going to check the big chest. Like I said, not too much time lost here. It'll be interesting to see how he routes Swamp. Swamp being rather infamous for its swords. I think it's because there's just there's so many items in there that just with 6 items there, having a sword there just doesn't seem to be that unlikely. But
yeah, I imagine that given the way he's playing right now, I definitely foresee him checking all the ones that are on his way, plus the sunken chests on the way back to Argus.
Don't see him going left side, though.
Oh, absolutely not.
And Matt picks up his boots.
I love that both of our runners got messed with by those boots. Both doing Spiral Cave to start with, and then finding them immediately afterwards.
Although,
it's a real kick to the face.
Swordless boot Spiral Cave, not quite as nice as when you do have a sword.
No, but still faster.
Still faster, absolutely. Bootless, hookshotless Spiral Cave is not a nice feeling.
Matt going to do his check here. Again, not familiar with him enough to know if he does hover, but he'll at least be able to get the one. And also a little bit lucky here that he's still doesn't have his sword, because he can't even be baited into the Turtle Rock play.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Looks like he is going to check Spike Cave. Yeah, Yagamoth is still checking a lot of places for that sword. Not going to find one in a hammer pegs. We've already seen that. Now, in his case, I could see him maybe taking the Smith Chain all the way, just because that purple chest turn-in is pretty close to Swamp Palace, but it's pretty slow. Of course, you could do the new glitch where you run away from it, and then it just magically appears when you get there.
Yeah, if he does decide to do this full Smith Chain, which he could.
No, looks like he's not going to
He
do it.
might actually be skipping it. Yeah. It's still too much of a time sink.
Yeah, I think
at this point he's checked a lot of stuff and it's not come up with that sword. He's probably feeling like he needs to get a little bit of a move on. But is going to check Cave 45 here. This is a pretty quick one, so.
And he doesn't have the shovel, so he can't check that. But he can check Stumpy. And gets arrows for it.
All right, here we go. Straight into Swamp. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he does some checks along the way, but he's going to want to get out of this pretty quickly. While Matt gets his sword, gives it a couple of test swings there.
Yeah, just under an hour in, gets his first sword. Let's see where he takes it. Oh, he's going to go up the mountain.
Oh, no.
No, the only thing he has is TR.
That's really the only thing he'd be coming up here for. I mean, this is a gamble. You're saying I'm making the play that I think TR is going to have my progression.
Yep.
No, he changed his mind.
Okay. Like, the only way TR pays out is if all three other swords are in there, and I just can't imagine that happening. Although, to be fair, I have seen a clip where there were 4 swords in Hype Cave, so it's not impossible, but yeah, that'd be pretty shocking if that were the case.
I think what was kind of going through his mind was he saw that sword immediately after having been up on Death Mountain, seeing Bombos on Turtle Rock, and was just like, kind of got that immediate snap decision. I'm going to make this play. And then thought better of it because he's got Skull Woods available. He's got Ice Palace available. And just a hook shot from Swamp Palace, a hook shot from being in go mode. So I think cooler heads prevailed. We'll be interested to see if we can ask him about that after the race.
Yeah.
See what was going through his mind there. But he is going to go straight back to Skull Woods and get this finished.
I also wonder if he was thinking at first that it was a crystal dungeon instead of a pendant dungeon. Then it would make a lot more sense to consider it.
Meanwhile, we do have Yagamoth going through Swamp Palace, and he is making these checks. So it looks like he's going to do the full front to back clear, skipping left side swamp, I would have to imagine.
Yeah, unfortunately, already finding a map, pretty much guaranteeing there's something he's going to leave behind. But yeah, no, he's not coming back for that, I don't think.
Yeah, no way. There's too much in Ganon's Tower for you to make that play.
Okay, to answer the question about fast Ganon, important items can be in GT, but again, the way the crystal setup is, even at 7-7, it would literally have to be a sword at that point for it to. You'd have to have 3 swords in Ganon's Tower for it to be required as a dip.
I was wondering how thorough he was going to be. He did find the big key in that chest and could have opted to go back and open it,
Oh,
but
there it is.
gets his sword, so it doesn't matter.
Swamp Palace living up to its reputation.
Well, that pretty much seals it as far as Yagamoth is concerned. He's just going to be going straight up GT and getting this done. Probably will, look out for silvers or another sword, but man.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to check anything. He won't check anything extra in the basement, but he might check the chest on his way up. There's 4 chests in Ganon's Tower after you get past.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of what we were talking about at the start of the race when we were talking about 6-6, and that it can be very quick, and you can sometimes avoid having to do these long item hunts. Like, say, in this instance, if this were 7-7, we'd still be needing to look for that flute, and
Yep.
it could be literally anywhere.
And in this case, because it's 6-6, that flute can actually be in Ganon's Tower. The seed might have been forcing them to do these particular 6 dungeons.
Well, that is the last crystal he needs before GT, and you know what that means.
Yep. So 22 checks in the basement of GT where that big key could be. Go ahead and get your check in, and we'll see who wins. In the meantime, we saw a head check from Matt. It looked like it was a second bow. So Yagamoth not going to find silvers.
That's rough. And from Matt's perspective, he's got to be kind of thinking like, "Come on,
Yeah, he's not going to
give me a break here."
Yeah, Matt's not going to get those either.
Seed.
At least he knows, if he somehow finds those 2 swords, he's not going to be able to continue looking for silvers. And Yagamoth is going to buy a couple potions, just to make sure he has enough magic to get through a Master Sword Silverless. I know you can do it with 1 potion, without half magic.
Yeah, it's doable, but I mean, he also doesn't have lamp. Is the other thing.
Yep.
So he's going to have to do, when he does his Master Sword Silverless, he's going to have to do it all with Fire Rod, which
uses more magic.
Without half magic is going to cost you a lot.
Yeah, a little harder on the torch glitch and uses more magic. So yeah, having the extra potions makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, he might find another sword, or he might find half magic on his way. So.
Well, obviously, Yagamoth doesn't know this, but the good news for him is that, unfortunately, Matt has kind of not picked up the scent of that hook shot in Ice Palace, and I really can't blame him too much. It's just such a hard call to make sometimes, especially when you only have 1 sword.
Especially it being Ice Palace, because Ice Palace, of course, as we talked about, can be hookshot locked. Depending on the key layout, it just makes it a little less likely that hookshot's going to be there in the first place. Be interesting if Yagamoth will. He could check hookshot cave here. I don't think he will. Wouldn't be too long a check, but yeah, I think he's just going to book it straight to GT. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. He is going to check hookshot cave.
I think he's feeling good enough. He's probably feeling pretty good about the way he routed this seed.
Yeah.
At this point, given how quickly he's gotten everything done. So, and the that's unfortunate. But he can bonk back to it.
Yeah,
so
he can get there.
But finding that extra sword, if it were in here, would be such a big boost.
And from his perspective, silvers, which we know can't be there, but he doesn't. He does get red mail, which is not a terrible consolation prize, though. And Matt finally making the play into ice.
Yep, so this will push Matt into go mode, and then he's going to have to really, really quickly get out to Swamp Palace and try and get that finished.
Okay, here we go. Going to the right side first. We have money. Okay, number 2 is the winner.
Very quick. And Yagamoth
Has to get
correctly
another key.
noticing does not have another small key. You really, really have to make sure you have one small key going up. You could potentially get bailed out. Sometimes there are small keys up near the top, but you really don't want to chance it.
Well, especially when you've only checked a handful of chests.
Yeah,
In this
for
case,
sure.
3. But it does make it less likely he's going to get an extra sword or that half magic here. Doing a nice job with those mimics.
Yep, had a little bit of a hiccup there in the first Mimic's room where the spike ate one of his arrow shots, but otherwise very nicely done.
As we head into the gauntlet. Doing a nice job.
Yeah, these can actually, when you start doing these low percent gauntlet runs, can be pretty difficult if you haven't practiced them.
Ooh,
Big time because of these two guys right here.
Yep. And no powder for the extra safety of getting a refill here, so you're just going to have to be pretty careful here. Down to 1 heart. And the hard part is I don't know how many potions he has right now. He really doesn't want to use them if he can avoid it. Because he really wants those.
Still has, yeah, I believe he still has 2 of them.
Okay, you can get a heart here. Matt, meanwhile, in his cold stare fight.
So, I don't know if we caught it on whenever he menued it. I assume he has the hook shot here. Yes, he does. Okay.
Yeah. Normally you don't see. Oh, Matt taking a death on cold stare. Oh, he's got a fairy. Never mind.
Yep. Had that fairy in the bottle from Spiral Cave.
That's right. Fairy to the rescue. And without a lamp, Yagamoth's going to go ahead and set himself. Ooh, missed a shot.
He's going to have to bust out one of those blue potions.
He's going to have to do it. This is one of the few places in this game where the game doesn't really bail you out with stuff in skulls or drops and stuff. It gets you in the next room.
Yeah, there are a couple of small magic drops, but obviously the game is assuming that you have the lamp at this point.
Yep.
So, they're not going to hand out too much.
Does need to get that key on the mini Helmosaur because he doesn't have, because he only grabbed the 1 extra key. Blue cane, not exactly what you need at this point.
Nope, not going to be of any use at this point.
No use whatsoever. And does not get an extra sword. So if there was a sword in GT, it was somewhere in the basement, and that GT big key being so immediate did not allow him to make those extra checks. I suspect had he not already gotten the Master Sword, I think he would have gone further looking for that sword. But with Master Sword, he's just going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I probably would have done a couple more checks, but here we go on to Aga 2.
nice first opening round. Nice double there.
Not getting the greatest patterns here, unfortunately. But I do believe that was a 4-cycle, 2-1-1-2. And he'll be moving on to his Master Sword Silverless Ganon fight. Yeah, and Yagamoth, unfortunately, because he had to use that blue potion, is going to have to play it a little bit more safe here.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and buy a potion.
Yeah, you might be able to pull it off maybe with perfect execution, but there's no reason to even attempt it.
He's got a green and a fairy. He's got more than enough money to just buy.
No, I guess he didn't realize he had that other green, maybe?
I guess not. It's a little... I think if he'd had flute, I think it'd be more likely he'd go ahead and do it, since he'd just flute right over there. But yeah, he's going to go for it.
Well, with your tournament life on the line, if you feel like depending on how far ahead he feels, probably thinks he needs to get this done as quickly as possible.
And of course, with Master Sword, we have to use sword spins. We have no other choice.
Oh, and
some double hits.
And interesting, being pointed out here in chat, I guess that green bottle must have been what was in the Dark Maze that we couldn't see.
That could be.
That was a nice positioning there from Ganon. Lets you get up in that corner and do a bunch of spins on him while staying in the middle of the fire bats. And we're through phase 2. And Ganon refusing to settle down there.
Oh, those Ganon warps. Okay, this is the hard part. He's got to make sure he gets this torch glitch.
He's also likely going to opt to try and get the first free hit in, perhaps. Yeah, but he might be a little too far away, unfortunately. Gets the torch glitch. Nicely done. And now it is all about those triples.
You watch him delay so you can get an extra shot in. Time that fire rod shot just right so he has time to get 3 shots in instead of only 2. It will take 24 spins total.
Yep, 24 spins with the Master Sword, 12 with both gold and tempered. So it's a pretty big difference time-wise. But so far, so good. I mean, we saw him doing some practice of this before the race, so... Fortunately, it was a little too early on that one to get the triple and gets hit by the fire bat, so that's tough, but it's going to get back into rhythm here. Still has his blue potion, so it's in good shape.
And we'll have to use it soon. Green potion, but...
Maybe he didn't have another blue potion.
But he is fine. I mean, he's gone to 2 hearts, but he does have a fairy left.
Yeah, if he has that fairy, he is perfectly fine. Not many more left. And you can just see how long this fight goes on. It's such a grind.
And there it is.
Now all that's left is for Yagamoth to get through the door, and we will have ourselves a game 3, folks.
And there it is, finishing up with an official SRL time of 1:18:44. GG to Yagamoth. And he even said in SRL, this was the scariest seed he's ever played. So.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty low resource for a lot of it. He didn't get his first sword till about, what, 48, 49 minutes in?
It was way late, yeah.
So GG's to him. Yeah, just a very impressive kind of lower percentage rando seed there.
And it'll be interesting if Matt finds a sword since he's going a different direction. Probably going to do a Dark Magician or possibly the Dark Magician hybrid to get over. And joining us is Yagamoth. GG.
GG, congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening.
I saw your comment about it being the scariest seed you've played. You want to talk about that for a second? It was pretty scary.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned it on stream a second ago. Basically, it was so low resources overall, and then I didn't even have a food to fill up on potions either. So, plus, so I read in chat at some point that this can happen that the green potion was in the dark maze, maybe, because I have no idea where I picked that one up.
Yeah, that's our guess. There was one item you got in the dark maze that we couldn't see.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was. Actually, I completely forgot about that one item. Plus, I had no idea that green potions, specifically, I guess, can be hidden in the dark maze. I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess we all learned something then. Because I know it's based on color, and I always heard like yellow and red were the colors that didn't see very well, but I guess maybe green's a thing too, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess starting out by asking, I mean, obviously the big turning point in this race was you finding the hook shot in Ice Palace. I guess just kind of talk us through what you were thinking just before deciding to make that play, and kind of what was going through your mind.
Honestly, I felt like going into Ice Palace was actually kind of a questionable play, but at the same time, in my mind, the Titansmiths were still, let's say, the latest progression in a sense. So I kind of wanted to check the Titansmiths locations first. So there was Hammer Pegs and Hookshot Chain, well, there's Smith Chain, that way around. And so that was just kind of my main thought. But also Ice Palace. Since it's a crystal, I like to go more or less directly for crystals if I have the opportunity. And we thought flute, and I figured we are not going to get the flute in the seed, probably. I figured I will have to go to Ice Palace at some point anyways. And when I got the boots and saved and quit over to get the bonk rocks and stuff, I figured that's a good opportunity to get a bottle and then just hop into ice. Because I wouldn't want to go into ice without having at least one bottle, honestly.
Sure.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Obviously, with Matt taking the first race, you elected to switch over to 6-6. Is 6-6 something you've had a lot of practice with, or what was your kind of thought process into making that change for Game 2?
Honestly, I haven't had much practice with it, but I just really like the concept that potentially I don't have to worry about the ice rod.
Which you got. No, wait, no, you didn't get it. Matt got the ice rod.
Yep. I actually don't know where it is, but that thing is just like, well, it can be anywhere, so I don't like it too much.
No, it's a terrible thing.
I feel like they should make it so Ether also hits Trinex, but maybe that's a bit too far-fetched.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught it, but we were pretty certain that your silver arrows were on Ped, so you weren't getting those.
Yeah,
Matt
they
ended up
don't
checking
mention
that.
it.
Yep.
Also, speaking of scariest seed, I don't think I've ever done Master Sword Silverless Cannon without having the lamp. That was kind of scary.
Yeah, that turned out to be an Eastern.
Yeah, I heard that too. How far into Eastern?
It was actually the very
the
next
hookshot
check.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
the one you would use the hookshot for if you had it.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, Eastern was front loaded. I think the first 3 checks had all the items.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, like you, Matt went in there after Pod, but you only checked the one item. He checked 3.
Yeah, I was really questioning that decision, but then at the same time, we only needed like, I don't know how many items we needed at that point, but it was like only 1 and 2 in order to finish the seed, and I knew where the Titans were.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of felt like you were. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like you're making a little bit more, some more gambles this seed, leaving some stuff behind. If so, was that just kind of a function of playing 6-6, or did it have to do with this being obviously for your tournament life?
It's actually mostly because it is 6-6, and the chances that, let's say, there's a flute and a corresponding medallion somewhere is not too bad. So I might just find something. But in general, I did actually skip a lot more than I would usually skip, to say the least. Also, Matt is really good, so I feel like I have to skip some stuff somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. We were mentioned it at the top of the seed. Even though you guys are playing here in the first round, and Matt's rank is obviously lower, he was 17th in qualifying, only like 6 spots below you. He was first quadrant qualifier. So, no, yeah, I mean, everybody at this stage of the tournament is going to be really tough. As we do see Matt, in fact, finishing his Aga 2 fight, and will be dropping in for his Master Sword Silverless Ganon.
He'll have the lamp though, so for what that's worth. I'm not sure what he has in terms of potions, but it's definitely going to be a little less scary. I say that very little less scary. It's one of those seeds we almost wish the spoiler log were on just so you could find out where things like half magic, powder, all those little luxury items that you guys didn't get were where the other 2 swords were.
Yeah, I think it.
Yep.
I think at this point, given all that's been checked, I mean, GT is obviously pretty likely. You get that big key in the first 2 chests there. Like, what were you thinking? Was it kind of like oh, this is nice, but man, I kind of wish I could check more of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually pretty much. Because I kind of hope to still find maybe, if it's not a sword, maybe a blue or a green potion would have just helped. Which apparently I already.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of little things that could have helped you out at that point. And if they were there, we'll never know.
Of course, there's also Turtle Rock, as far as locations that swords could be.
Turtle Rock was an interesting one because I felt like it could be that if Matt decided to go into like Village of Outcasts first with the Titansmiths rather than Death Mountain, he might just go and check inside Turtle Rock. So I figured I am decently far ahead if nothing else. Yeah. But
he looked like he was about to go to Turtle Rock at one point, and then thought better of it and headed to Ice.
Yeah, immediately after getting his sword at King's Tomb. And yeah, I mean, you guys were kind of it was a little bit bailed out when you got up to Dark Death Mountain. Saw that. I mean, in your case, you didn't have Bombos yet, but neither of you had a sword, so getting in there was impossible. But it was available. So Matt opting to use the lamp here. I'm wondering if he is just tapped out on any sort of magic potions. Not opting to go for triples with the fire rod.
Yeah, he did use a blue already. I don't know what else he has though.
I mean, I saw he had a red, and he definitely used that to heal himself up, but now he's going to bust out the fire rod and try to go for some triples here to speed up the fight.
Yeah, that's another thing that happened to you when you were going up the tower. Had to use that blue potion in the middle of it, and I know that was not something you wanted to do, but would have been worse if you died up there and had to start all over.
Yeah, I was actually considering that if I, let's say, have to reset the tower, which I didn't have to in this case, I would potentially go and check at least the fortress on the left side.
Definitely makes sense. You can see Matt kind of trying to gauge how much magic he's got left versus how many spins he still needs.
Yeah. So easy to lose count on this.
Yeah, it is possible to get triples with the lamp, but it is pretty tight timing. And Matt gets his 24th spin in and will finish. GG's to him.
Yep. Finishing up with an official SRL time of 1:29.16. GG's to Matt.
And we'll see if we can get him in here for a quick interview, get his thoughts on that seed as well.
And there he is.
Yep, we are joined by matt7898. GG, sir. That was a tricky race.
Yeah, GG's. Nice job, Yaga. You crushed this one.
GG. Thank you for playing.
Yeah, I mean, this seed it is what it is. I shouldn't have been a baby. Should have gone into Ice Palace.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should, I guess, probably start with the big turning point, which was in fact that hook shot. I mean, it's a tough call to make when you're that low on resources, and with hook shot being the only item you needed left for go mode.
And it is Ice Palace because an Ice Palace can be hook shot locked.
Yeah, that was part of my reasoning not to go there. Ironically, if I had noticed that dark chest in pod was a green potion, I probably would have gone there a lot earlier. I was going to go there after Spike Cave, but I just had no way to get magic, which was part of the problem. But either way, I kind of flipped back through the VOD. With the way he routed this, I think even if I had done that, it would have been tough for me to win.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be playing a little bit more conservatively than Yagamoth was. Was that a little more a function of just being ahead of game, not wanting to lose on a missing item location?
It's kind of tough to gauge with the 6/6 seeds how aggressive you can be. Like earlier when this first came out, I would play very aggressively, and now it seems like almost all of them lock a crystal from Ganon's tower, the required items to do that crystal are in Ganon's tower, so there's really only 6 you can do. So I don't know, I've been kind of starting to play these more like 7/7 seeds, even though maybe I shouldn't, so I don't know.
Yeah, the 6/6, it's so new, and it really feels like a different experience depending on whether that item, that one dungeon, sometimes you do get to choose and sometimes you don't. We never found the flute, so we don't know if you guys had a choice at all.
Yeah, I would guess Myra was locked by Ganon's tower in the seed. Like, I cleared a lot. Besides
I would guess
Turtle
that
Rock.
too. Yeah, but I mean, it could have been in Turtle Rock, but yeah, that would be my guess as well.
Speaking of Turtle Rock, I did want to make sure we asked.
Yep.
We saw you after you kind of finished your Dark Death Mountain stuff and got the boots. When you got that sword from King's Tomb and got the sword, instantly saving quitting, going to the mountain, and then thinking better of it, I guess. Just kind of give us your thought process there and kind of what was going through your mind.
I was feeling behind, and I thought maybe that would be a play that could let me win. then as I was going up the mountain, I was thinking about it a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm really only a hook shot from go mode. And where the fire rod was, like that was a tough item to get. There was no sword in the early game. I'm assuming Yagamoth is good at dark rooms. He obviously did it, but some people might not get that fire rod trying to navigate that dark cross with Kane. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that's my chance to win, that he didn't get fire rod, as opposed to me doing something dumb and diving Turtle Rock when I'm ahead. So that was, I didn't really know what to do. I was trying to play metagame a little bit too much, but I thought better of it. And then went to Skull Woods instead.
Ended up being the correct call in this case.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll never know what was actually in Turtle Rock. Maybe that flute was there, but who knows?
Probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, any ideas on what you might change going into Game 3, Matt?
I'm either going to change it to standard, or I'm going to change it back to 7-7. And we're playing tomorrow, so I got to decide soon. And Yaga, I'll send you a message when I decide. But I'm going to think about it for a few minutes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, absolutely makes a lot of sense. You know, it's Game 3. It's for your tournament live, so we're looking forward to seeing another race between you guys. These first two have been very entertaining.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks guys for the commentary in the stream. I know it's tough to get these streams up during GDQ, so I appreciate the effort that's put into showcasing this race.
Yeah, second, thank you for commentating, tracking, and restream.
All right, and if you're not already following these guys, you should do so, as we both, as our tracker, who I was about to shout out, also puts the commands in chat. And of course, shout outs to our tracker Slowpoke, doing a great job clicking the buttons behind the scenes and making sure that we had a nice experience in keeping us honest throughout the race. And also thank you to Jay Misher for joining me on commentary.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
But let's see. I don't think there's anything else. There's nothing else scheduled today unless something came up very last minute.
It looks like our next race is actually going to be tomorrow at 1:20 Eastern Time. That is a Game 2 versus Tito and Ninban. No idea yet if that's actually going to get a restream. There is one being restreamed, however, tomorrow at 3:20 p.m. between P-Train and Top Life. That will be right here on Speed Gaming. That's a Game 2 with a Sword Assured switch.
Yep. So quite a few matches going on tomorrow. So definitely tune in for that. Like we said, we're not sure what's going to be restreamed. Definitely Speed Gaming is restreaming a couple matches. There's also one at 6:20 between Goomba and Magnificent. So, and then like several others that may or may not be restreamed. So definitely tune in.
Yep. Just keep an eye out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and also go ahead and follow all the Speed Gaming channels: Speed Gaming 2 through 6, and the ALTTP Randomizer channel, and the ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 5. I think that'll be it for us.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. So hope to see you all tomorrow then.
Thanks. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are.